This video I'm going to show you how to log in and use an Avalonix Red series camera. So first we're going to log in, and keep in mind on first boot up the camera is going to ask you to set up a administrator password and then also recovery questions. You can reach out to our support team for our recovery questions if you'd like to have them as set as the factory defaults, what they are set to when we initialize and send the camera to you. And here we can see we're first logged in, and here it says we need to please click and install the plugin. So we're going to go ahead and click here. It brings up a little prompt here on the bottom here. Now keep in mind we're using Internet Explorer, as we know this works the best with the plugin. However, some other browsers will work with this. It's just a matter of you having to switch and make sure that you have the proper plugin down here under this section. But we're first going to click yes and install this and finish. Refresh this here, and we can see we pulled up the camera. If you can see, we have it pointed to our parking lot here. And down here at the bottom left, you can see how you can switch between plugins, and different browsers will have different options here. Here we can see a little icon for the QuickTime icon, but we're just going to keep using the plugin that we just have installed. This will allow you to view the camera, as you can see. Now keep in mind there are zoom controls, and this particular camera is a motorized zoom camera, so if you have a PTZ or a motorized zoom camera, first we're going to click on this little left hand arrow here, or on the right hand side here. And now keep in mind it's a kind of little caret there. And here you can see the zoom icon. We have zoom negative, zoom positive. To zoom in, we're going to zoom like this. As you can see, we're zooming in on the camera here. And then we can zoom back out. Now, if you have a PTZ, then you would use obviously these arrow keys right here, and you can move around the PTZ, and then just flip it over or turn it all the way around, and then also the zoom and iris and focus buttons here as well. Or if your PTZ has a wiper, auxiliary focus, initializing lens, also if there's any external lights on the camera. And here you can also control the speed of the PTZ. And then down here you can set presets, but we're not going to go into too much detail on presets. Now you can also go into here to the configuration if you would like to change the encoding settings or the resolution settings, and also some of the video settings. So here we're going to check out the encoding settings. As you can see, we have that set to 4 megapixel. We got it on variable zoom. Usually we're going to set this to constant bitrate, where you know what you're working with. And you can set the max bitrate here, and then also the frames per second. This one maxes out at this particular camera maxes out at 20 FPS. You can also turn on H.264 Plus, which will allow you to get a little stronger encoding to save storage space. I'm just going to leave it off on this example. And for the image settings tab, we can go here. As you can see, we set the brightness up to 100, as it's kind of a dreary day outside and we're not getting too much light going into the camera at the moment. You can also go to here, and this changes the exposure time if you want a brighter or darker picture. Then the day and night switch, we have it set to auto, and you can turn this to day or night, scheduled switch. If this is your IR control on this camera. And we have the backlight settings. We currently have the WDR off and the backlight area off as well. And then white balance, you can set different white balance here. Warm, natural, fluorescent, incandescent lamp, depending on the kind of lighting you have in the area. There's also image enhancement. Here we have digital noise reduction set to normal. You can set it expert. You can also set the level there. Our picture looks fine, so we're not going to adjust that at all. And you can set it to PAL or NTSC. And if you're in North America, you want to set it to NTSC, and it's going to ask you to reboot it. But for this example, we're just going to leave it as PAL. And finally, you're going to want to make sure if you're using this with an NVR that is not a Redline series NVR, then you're going to actually want to go in here and go into network settings, into advanced settings, and then you're going to want to go into the integration protocol. Then you're going to want to enable ONVIF. Then you're going to want to go ahead and add an ONVIF user. In this case, we're just going to add admin and use our factory default password. And you're going to want to set it to an administrator for the most compatible with any NVR that can take an ONVIF user. Now note your mileage may vary whether or not you will actually be able to get this ONVIF user to log in and record to a NVR that is not one of Avalonix's Redline series NVRs or a compatible NVR. And last but not least, that brings us to the basic settings of the IP addressing or the network settings on this camera. Here we can set the NIC type to You can also set it to DHCP, and we're just going to leave it as the default 192.168.1.64. This is the IP address that the camera should ship to you with. This is currently the IP address that we're actually accessing the camera from. Now keep in mind, if you were to add this camera on, say, like a remote recorder or some type of application, you're going to want to make sure that you note these ports, like such as the server port and then also the RTSP port. That are the ports that the camera will be using to send information to those third-party programs, or even adding it to a third-party NVR. You're going to want to make sure that you use this server port and then also this HTTP port, depending on what the third-party NVR software is requiring from you to add that entry as. Hopefully this video helps. Thank you for watching.